I turned down Chelsea and Tottenham for Arsenal, and it destroyed my career forever. Welcome to Football Focus. Hope you're all having a great day. Before we kick off, if you love football, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Let's dive in. He had two giants of London chasing him. The buzz was deafening, the spotlight blinding, and the promises grand. A move to Stamford Bridge would have brought him immediate Champions League football and a clear path to silverware. Tottenham Hotspur, on the other hand, offered a system tailored to his style, a fan base ready to adore him, and the opportunity to build something lasting under an emerging project. But he chose Arsenal, and he has lived with the consequences ever since. The name in question? Yannick Carrasco. The Belgian winger once revealed in a candid interview how both Chelsea and Spurs approached him during a critical phase of his career. With both North London and West London ready to roll out the red carpet, the choice was his, and he opted for Arsenal. A club with tradition, beauty, and a promise of future glory, but none of it materialized for him. From the very beginning, Carrasco's move to Arsenal was clouded with complications. Though he was tipped to bring flair, pace, and dynamism to the left flank, what followed was a bizarre sequence of tactical misfits, inconsistent minutes, managerial distrust, and internal disillusionment. He was not alone. Arsenal at the time were going through an identity crisis. The post-Wenger era was still raw. Emery had his ideas but lacked clarity in implementation. The team had no set formation, players were shifted out of their positions, and signings were being made without long-term plans. Carrasco, unfortunately, became one of the many casualties in the crossfire of poor direction and leadership. I had conversations with Chelsea and Spurs too. Both were interested and made me feel important. Arsenal was romantic. It felt right emotionally. But in football, emotion can betray you. His tone is not bitter, but reflective. He doesn't throw anyone under the bus. He doesn't blame the manager, the players, or even the club hierarchy. Instead, he blames the moment, a time when Arsenal looked like they were building for something massive, yet everything under the surface was fragile. Carrasco made his debut in a late September clash against Leicester City. While fans were optimistic, his performance was uninspired. It wasn't that he lacked effort, but there was a clear disconnect. The Arsenal midfield couldn't feed him the ball consistently. The fullback behind him kept overlapping at the wrong moments. He looked like a man trapped in a system that didn't understand him. As the weeks passed, his frustration grew. He started 3 games in a row without completing the full 90 minutes. Rumors began to swirl. Was he struggling with fitness? Was he homesick? Was there a rift in the dressing room? The truth was simpler. Carrasco had entered a footballing environment that was dysfunctional. Arsenal at the time had too many players who didn't suit the manager's style. Unai Emery's hybrid tactical systems created confusion. Carrasco, accustomed to fluid attacking patterns at Atletico Madrid, found himself lost. Instead of thriving, he was surviving. Meanwhile, he watched Chelsea thrive under Frank Lampard's guidance. Youngsters like Mason Mount and Reece James were stepping up, and the Blues had a clear sense of purpose. Tottenham were on the rise too, with Son and Kane forming one of Europe's deadliest duos. Carrasco couldn't help but wonder, had he made the worst mistake of his life? That winter, he was benched for 6 games straight. The player who had once dazzled at the World Cup with Belgium reduced to a frustrated spectator at the Emirates. When asked about his situation, he remained diplomatic. "I still believe in the club. I came here to win something. It's just taking more time than expected." But deep down, the cracks were growing. His relationship with the manager soured not due to any incident, but because of neglect. He felt ignored. His training efforts went unrewarded. Other wingers with less pedigree were favored. A few of his teammates tried to support him, but in a disjointed squad, there wasn't enough cohesion. By the end of the season, he had clocked just 14 appearances, only 2 goals and no assists. For a player of his reputation, it was a disaster. The media slammed him. Arsenal fans grew impatient. Even some of his supporters began to question his desire. Then came the summer window and rumors of an exit intensified. Chinese clubs came knocking again. Serie A sides expressed interest. But Carrasco wasn't ready to give up yet. He doubled down. "I chose Arsenal. I must fight for Arsenal." It was admirable, but perhaps misguided. In the following season, under the newly appointed Mikel Arteta, things didn't improve. Arteta's system demanded tactical discipline, positional awareness, and off-the-ball movement that Carrasco wasn't comfortable with. He liked to play instinctively, to take on defenders, to drift centrally. Arteta needed structure, something Carrasco struggled to adapt to. By January, both parties had had enough. A mutual termination of contract was floated, but rejected. Eventually, he was loaned out, ironically to Spurs' bitter European rivals Napoli, where he found joy again. Free from the rigidity, back to expressive football, Carrasco rediscovered his rhythm. He scored on debut. He smiled again. From Italy, he watched Arsenal evolve. Young stars like Bukayo Saka emerged, new signings began to settle, and the Gunners slowly built an identity. But for Carrasco, the chapter had already ended. In a candid post-match interview in Naples, he said, "I still follow Arsenal. They have brilliant players. But for me, it was the most terrible decision of my career. Not because of the club itself, but because the timing was all wrong." Today, Carrasco plays with freedom, no longer shackled by the pressure of proving himself in North London. Yet there's a flicker of regret in his eyes, not because Arsenal failed him entirely, but because he never got to show his best in red and white. Football is cruel that way. One wrong decision can derail years of work. Carrasco's story is a warning to every young footballer tempted by legacy over logic, by emotion over fit. And yet, despite it all, he holds no bitterness, only lessons. "If I could do it again, I might choose differently, but I don't hate Arsenal. I just wasn't right for them, and they weren't right for me."